one podcast, mining the Magic the Gathering community for salt. This is the Howling Salt Mine.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Howling Salt Mine podcast, the podcast where we delve into those salty mines of the Magic the Gathering community, find the salty stories, the salty posts that we love, put them in our mine cart, and bring them right back to you, our dear prospectors at home. As always, I'm your host, Sam, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Mike and Tony. Say hey, guys.
What up, what up, what up?
Good evening.
Good evening, indeed. And before we go any further, you know we got to shout out our nice tier patrons. And this week we have Accidental TPK, Alex Ballix, Crean Bean, Dr. Black, and Z. Z, thank you for being so nice. We appreciate you. We really, really do.
Thanks.
But you know what? There's a presence in the mind today, guys.
A presence.
It seems kind of powerful.
Yeah, I feel like we're playing with something pretty powerful right now.
Ooh, it's me.
TNT Dynamite?
I am the power.
Oh, shit. It's our buddy Zeb from Playing with Power. What's up, Zeb?
What is going on? Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for joining us, dude. We appreciate having you in the mine. This is the second part of a long, drawn-out crossover that's taken place over a couple months because we had a convention smack dab in the middle.
Yeah. It was really rough for editing right around then.
Dude, I know. And this week is going to, a little peek behind the curtain, recording this like the week before Christmas. This week's going to be pretty rough for editing too. Hell yeah.
Heck yeah.
Hell yeah.
So Zeb, thanks for joining us, man. We do appreciate it. Playing with Power. I'm just going to jump right off the bat. How did you get involved with Playing with Power? I've always been super curious because I knew you before you got involved with Playing with Power. Our listeners will know that I called you Zeb the Cube Guy one time. I know you for your cubes.
I love that episode. It's really a cool little story, and it heavily involves my predecessor on the team, Cal Jones.
Oh, friend of the show.
I'm sure everyone loves Cal.
Nah, I fucking hate that guy. Fuck him.
Yeah, he's literally one of my best friends. I've known him for 11-ish, 12-ish years now, I think.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice. Almost as long as I've known Sam. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Carry on.
All right.
Carry on.
Way longer than I've known Mike.
I
So.
thought this was my story. Why you got to one-up me now? Come on.
Welcome to the show.
Tony needs this one, Zeb. Tony needs this
Yeah,
one.
okay.
I do.
I'll allow it this time.
Thank you.
So he went to college a town over from where I was helping run a game store in my hometown. And so one evening he wanders in to play Friday Night Magic, and we play Friday Night Magic, and I'm like, you're a cool dude. And he's like, you're a cool dude too. And then later on, he brings his future wife in, and we all become huge friends, and we're playing whatever. And then, flash forward I think 6-ish, 7-ish years, he is working this job as a copywriter somewhere. And I don't have a job right then. I'm like, hey, can you help me? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'll get you an interview with my boss. So I get an interview with his boss. I get that job. He leaves the job the next week. Barely even that. And then flash forward 2 more years, Playing with Power puts out there, hey, we're looking for a new team member. And at this point, I had played 1 game of cEDH ever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I went to Silicon Dynasty. I brought Arkham Dagston, so mono blue.
Oh, dude,
so,
Arkham, old school, man.
Because way back in the day, I built an Arkham list. This was when cEDH came out.
Yep.
I loved the masterpieces. I heavily, aggressively traded into, and by aggressively, I don't mean I hamstrung people into trading or selling to me. I just
I saw you beating up a kid in the
you
back
bullied
alley.
people.
give me that soul ring.
Yeah, you were holding him by his ankles and shaking him, and cards were falling out.
I got all of the masterpieces and was like, what am I going to do with these
You
guys?
got all of the masterpieces?
So this was before Aether Revolt had come out. I had almost every masterpiece from cEDH proper. All of the fast mana, all of the swords, Paradox Engine, a bunch of crazy stuff like that.
Shit.
And I cracked a Mox Chrome Mox and then traded for a Mox Opal from some dudes in my LGS. Like, we opened so much product because we were just drafting it like Wednesday and Friday, and then having it sealed every Saturday. And this was actually, it was crazy because this was a small game store. It probably, we had like 20 people drafts at most, but we were just firing so often that we were just opening tons of product.
But you were just fiends, just gremlins,
just
ripping
absolute
through.
fiends.
Yeah, it was so funny. So I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do with all this stuff? And then I realized, well, I'm gonna make an Arkham Dagson deck because there's Paradox Engine in here. And so I would like, this was before the Paradox ban, and I looked back at the deck list, and the deck list at the time was the tier like 0.5, nearly tier 0 cEDH deck list.
Oh yeah.
And I was rolling with this in casual games with my play group, and they hated me. I legit had a game that was, we start turn 1, I'm seat 1, go off, win turn 1, then proceed to say, you know what, seat 2, your turn 1, I'm gonna go get my other casual deck and I'm just gonna play that instead.
I would be so pissed at you. I would be so salty.
I don't know. Looking back at this, I don't understand why I did the things that I did.
That's amazing.
Great.
Holy shit.
But anyway, so that's all to say. That's why I played Arkham Dagson when I went to Silicon Dynasty.
Mm-hmm.
Got my butt kicked, and the funny thing is that wasn't
by
the
actual
first
cEDH players, like, right? Not
yes,
just
by actual cEDH.
It wasn't casual pod anymore.
Oh no.
Like,
This was me getting getting my butt handed to me by people who actually knew what they were doing. They're like, "Hi, get out of here, scrub." That's like not even a tier 2 deck anymore. Well, mainly because Paradox Engine ain't in there. The best I can do is like Bolas's statue or whatever. I love that card, but like that's not a Paradox Engine.
No.
So I had actually been going to cEDH events for like half a year at that point just to go. I like literally went out to like Philadelphia for Punt City 1, hung out at Punt City 1, like did other things like that just because I wanted to hang out with like my friends because it was like
gathering
Cal
part
and everyone around that area. So Playing with Power put out the old, hey, we're going to bring some new members on, and on a whim I was texting Cal and I was just like, I'm going to do it. He's like, do it then. I'm like, all right, fine. And so I like put it in. And evidently, like, like Ryan and them obviously liked me. I mean, that's how I got here. I should hope.
That Zeb guy sucks, but we need someone to hate in the office.
I freaking hate him. Oh, God. But yeah, so then I got on the team. And then within a week, I think maybe a week and a half, Cal had decided that he was leaving the team to start his Herald's Horn and all that stuff.
Oh, man.
That's like twice in a row now where I've been like, hey, Cal, can you help me get this thing? And he like helps me get the thing. And then he leaves it. I don't get to like, I don't think I even recorded a single game with him as an official member of the team where I was also an official member of the team.
That's so crazy.
Like the running joke now is that at some point in the future, Cal's going to like, once again, be the in for me to get something really cool. And then leave immediately once I get it. Just like, I'm not staying here with this.
That is so funny, man. I mean, for people who don't know, Playing with Power, first of all, if you don't know, what are you doing? Playing with Power is like the biggest cEDH channel out there. I think that's like a pretty safe claim to say, right? Like you guys are the big dogs of cEDH.
For the most part, I still think that holds true. The last time I checked. I don't know, man.
All I know is like I didn't watch any other content in the Magic space other than like Command Zone for a while, and then Playing with Power came along, and I was like, "Holy fuck!
Yeah,
this is the greatest thing ever."
Same.
And I did not like cEDH. Like this is like
right.
Prior to me playing cEDH, I was like, "Holy hell!" And it like made me want to play it more. And it's like, oh, it's so fucking crisp.
Yeah, we all got hooked on Playing with Power. It was like we started watching it. I think Nick might have found it, and he was like, "Check this out." And we were like we were kind of curious about like higher tiers of play, and we were like, "This is pretty awesome." Also, the videos are like 20 minutes, and I can watch like 3 or 4 in the span that it takes to watch one Game Nights episode, which was all we were
like
really watching.
Definitely like what we're always going for.
It's amazing, dude. And some of them had like 2 or 3 games. It was crazy.
Yeah. I actually just finished like the first run on an editing a video that's going to be coming out at some point, and it's like 2 15-minute games when we've cut it all
That's
the way
awesome,
down,
dude.
I bet I
Hell
could
yeah.
get
Once you've
more
cut it
if I wanted to, but like,
It probably took you 7 hours to get to 15 minutes for the fans, but like,
Yeah. I feel like when you're starting to get into cEDH too, if you're coming from content, you're like, oh, nice. We're going to have 15-minute games. And it does cut out like all of the like just, painstaking slogging through.
The tanking,
yeah.
the
And
triggers.
some of the
I think that was a
tanking,
big
the
part of it
triggers.
for me at the beginning of like not understanding that disconnect and being like, oh, our games still take an hour. It's just that more shit has happened probably.
Yeah.
And it's only turn 4.
yeah, and that's like, yeah, because you go like, oh, it's only a 6-turn game.
Yeah.
That's fast as hell.
That's fast.
as hell. Let's get this
That's
going.
super fast,
You
yeah.
actually sit down to play, and it's just like, it's turn 2, but it's not my turn 2. I'm in 4th seat. It's actually seat 3's turn 2, and we're 55 minutes in.
Yeah.
What?
It's just so much happening. It's
For
crazy,
real.
man.
Talk about a fangirl moment. Like being on Playing with Power was such a moment for me. I was like, holy fuck.
Oh,
what is
same.
what is life
Yeah.
right now?
It's
So
crazy, dude.
people should definitely go watch your shit.
I mean, we'll put the links in the show notes, but if people haven't checked out the episode that we're on of Playing with Power, where we play against Seb, it's really awesome. I think there's another one on its way, if it's not already out by the time this episode drops.
Hopefully.
And we'll link it all so you can check it out. It's good shit.
Hell yeah.
I still remember my favorite Playing with Power episode. It was one where I think Ryan was at like a convention or something and was filming there, and it was 4 Godot decks.
Oh
And-
no.
and it was, this was like maybe 2 years ago, 4
Right.
Godot decks, and they ended up playing like 4 or 5 games within like a 20-minute episode.
I would believe that.
It was just
Yeah.
so cool to see how these 4 different people had built these decks slightly differently and how they were like playing against each other, because you'd think it would be like, who can count to 11 first wins, but it
Right.
wasn't at all. Like the gameplay was way more deep, but then someone would just like pop off and win, and they'd be like, well, it's over, shuffle up again.
Yep, keep her going. Yeah.
It was so cool, man. Playing with Power just fucking rules. It's definitely like an amazing gateway drug to cEDH for casual players.
Fuck. Yeah.
So you mentioned you hadn't played much cEDH before that.
Mm,
What kind of were your first decks as you entered back in?
Oh man. So I played Arkham for like literally just the one tournament I was at, and started playing Inala because I was just kind of like, I want to see what like a combo deck. It's Grixis.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of like the best value spells you're gonna find in there. You also get
Yeah.
access to, of course, counter magic, because blue is so powerful in cEDH for obvious reasons. And really was having trouble with it because I just didn't like how it's so funny. It's a very non-deterministic combo that becomes deterministic at the end. That's how you like win. But it requires you to have very good like foreknowledge of how much mana you're going to have after X amount of times doing the non-deterministic part of the loop. And I hated that because there were just so many ways that you as the pilot could screw it up. And also there are so many points of interaction.
Yeah.
All someone has to do is like, this creature ETBs, you exile it. Your spell seeker's gone. All right, well, you can't do the next part of the step of the combo. You've wasted your entire hand. You're out of this game.
Yeah.
And I really, really didn't like that. After Inala, this is kind of like my moment, I think, in cEDH that really got me to click with it was, funnily enough, I was playing casual with my friends. We had just gotten all of the Lord of the Rings pre-cons, and we were doing a casual game together. And we were all like, hey, let's just slightly upgrade these casual decks a bit. They don't need to be like super powerful, just a bit, do whatever.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, well, I'm only going to use cards from Lord of the Rings in this Hobbit food deck, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I put like One Ring in there and a whole bunch of other random nonsense. One Ring is disgusting no matter where you put it, obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I also put Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff, in there.
Oh, there you go.
And then drop him in the middle of this game and just proceed to generate like 10 mana over the course of like 4 turns. And I'm like, something's going on here. I need to like look into this. This seems pretty good. And from there, I just started like messing with a list that I wanted to put together of like, of a cEDH deck, because I saw that really no one at the time was even attempting to play Lotho as a commander. He'd only just come out, so people were looking at him in the 99. And so like my friend and I put together a list. He saw some people were messing with it, and they were doing like the Luris Lotho thing, trying to use like Thran Vigil and any of the persist creatures to like get infinite, death triggers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't having that though. I'm not a big fan of that, mainly because I want to be playing Bolas's Citadel because
Yes.
it's awesome,
Also, there's just a lot of good cards that cost more
Dude.
than 2 and are
yeah.
permanent.
My God,
Like some of the best cards are those.
a lot of the
things.
best cards, especially in black white. If you're trying to like really lean into that, because like you lose out on so much,
dude.
Yeah,
So
like
much.
Ranger
Like-
Captain, Eveos.
Yeah, I was literally like, I was about to say Ranger Captain. It's
Smothering Tithe.
Yeah, Smothering Tithe, Bolus's Citadel, Opposition Agent.
so at the time it was also like Razakath. Hoarding Broodlord wasn't out yet, so I was like on Razakath, and then Hoarding Broodlord came out, and the big one for that was I was talking to Alana, you know, our other Playing with Power member.
Yep.
And she helped me like really just like, okay, here are the cards that probably need to be in this deck. She told me about Abdel Adrian because I didn't know about Abdel yet. I'm like, whoa, wait a second, this guy's spicy as all hell. Like, what the heck? And it's kind of crazy. I would love for there to be one more effect like Abdel Adrian or like Relic Order.
Yep.
Mhm.
But like Abdel is just this like linchpin in that deck that puts together so many different combos. Like that I really opened up the list from being just kind of like this janky, almost do nothing. It can have fast mana, but it wasn't getting enough card draw. It wasn't actually like able to like do anything. Abdel combos with like every single thing in the deck that can possibly combo. Whereas Relic Order only has a couple things that it can combo with.
Yes.
But I need the Relic Order in there for redundancy. But Abdel just like is just like everywhere. Anything you can touch, he'll combo with it. And it's like, okay, cool. Like it literally allows me to win off of Bolas's Citadel alone because I'm just like every like 10th iteration of Abdel entering the battlefield from being like reanimated, I can target the Bolas's Citadel, sacrifice 10 Abdel tokens, and then like reset the Bolas's Citadel.
Yeah.
The first time I did that to someone that hadn't really seen it before in cEDH, they were like, wait, what?
Wait, the
I didn't even
Citadel
realize
does
it
that?
has extra text on it.
That's so
Yeah.
sick, dude. That's really sick. Mike's never done that in a
I've
game
never
with
done
us.
that.
Never?
I love
Never,
it.
ever,
I
ever.
love that piece. You can also just do it with like Bowmasters out and things like
Oh,
that. So
well, exactly.
there's other ways to just make it happen. But yeah, it's so nice.
Yeah. I actually had someone who was like, we were looking at like refining the list. They're like, why don't you take Bowmasters out? It doesn't do anything. And I'm like,
No, it does. It does plenty.
Yeah.
It does plenty of
Abdel
things.
makes it infinite kill someone. And they're
Also,
like,
it's just good. Like that was a green player telling you that. They're like, maybe
Yeah.
take this out.
Yeah.
right? It's like, all it does is kill Lana or Alpha. It's never
Yeah.
good.
And that's just a little dork. It's fine. It's fine, actually.
Yeah.
So that's what I was, messing with. And not to toot my own horn, but I think I'm kind of responsible for a decent amount of exposure of that list, or at the very
For
least,
sure.
Lotho as a commander in cEDH
Yeah.
gameplay. I've seen a lot of different lists for it, especially like
Mhm.
like the Luris Lotho. It's not my style, and like we all just said, we like playing like the higher mana cost stuff. But like some people have made it work, and if they can do that and be happy, go for it.
I definitely say that like you're probably one of the best Lotho pilots I know. I don't really know anyone else who can like use the
Yeah.
deck as well. Does that make
the
sense?
Fuck out of here,
Mike, any comments on that?
I obviously have talked about it a bunch too. I love the deck also. But
I also love the
it was
deck.
one of those fun things. Yeah, you do filthy
As an
Obnixilis player.
Yeah, I do too as a
I
Morath
love
player.
Lotho.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has been brutal in the pod for the most part, especially with Animar as the third one, which literally has protection from your deck.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like the Lotho pod from hell.
Mike basically was like, can I build a deck where all of my friends' decks are just advantaged
Hard
against
counters.
it? Let me
Just
do
hard
it.
counters.
I feel like we're already there and maybe out of order, but I think the real question that we'd ask now, because we are mid-interview, folks, in case you haven't noticed.
Wait, but this is a grueling interview, and if you get it wrong,
is
I will
grueling.
cut your mic. And,
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
And you can't leave the Zoom meeting though. You do have to
Yeah.
wait. Okay, now we can continue.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad we got that in.
I
It
have to
needed to
say
be in.
that.
It's for all
Yeah,
the
it does
other.
need to be said.
Let's go further back. What got you into Magic?
Yeah, we already heard about this LGS story, but like, what's beyond that?
So way back in the day, this would have to have been around 2001. My brother and I got the intro decks to, I want to say, Onslaught.
Okay, yeah, so very far. Very
So
long time
the
ago.
funny thing is, they're in my boxes that are around me right now, so I can't really dig for them. But I have. So for Christmas a couple years ago, he actually rebought us those decks.
Oh, that's so
Oh,
great,
sick.
dude.
He got Psychotog. I got the Nightmares, the green black Nightmares one. It is back in the day when the deck boxes had like expert level on them and stuff like that, and they came in those little cardboard boxes. So we got that for Christmas, and like he taught me how to play because he asked for us to get those for Christmas because his friends had kind of taught him how to play, and he's like 2 years older than my brother is. You know, he loves it. I'm still trying to grasp it because I'm like, this would have been, I'd be 8 at the time.
Oh wow!
Right? He was 10. He would get packs with his friends and they'd play. And what ended up happening was I stopped playing after about like 2 years ish because I got really tired of this thing that he'd do. And I don't want to like call out my brother, but he knows who he is.
Call him out. This is the time to do it. If not now, when?
If not on the internet.
And I don't hold this against him at all. I need him to understand this. Zane, I love you. This isn't your fault. You were a kid. But he would.
You know what you did, Zane.
He would like play out his turn, pass the turn to me, and then immediately go, my turn. And my little like kid brain would be like, yeah, sure. And he'd be like, okay. And then like start taking his next turn. And I'd be like, what the heck? That's not cool. And he's like, oh, you said it's my turn. And so like after a while, I got kind of tired of that, you can imagine. And I just was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, oh my God, dude.
You found the colorless 0 mana time walk.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
And I didn't like stop playing. I still like knew how the game worked and stuff. And then when I was in like grade school, probably 3rd, 4th grade, I had a really good friend that I would go to his house and he'd bust out like his Mirrodin decks and stuff like that. And we played there too. And so I still knew how to play. I still liked the game. I just didn't play it a whole lot because I was a little bit sour.
A little salty, perhaps?
A little salty even. Oh my God, is this my origin story? Is it actually a salty story? What? I didn't even think about that. And then 2007, 2008 rolls around. We've got Alara, and the one before that would have been like Lorwyn, Shadowmoor, stuff like that.
Yep.
And that was around the time when Commander started to really actually take off like everywhere, from what I understand. Like everyone had a Commander deck by that point that was already entrenched in Magic for more than like 3 or 4 years. So one day my brother just invites me to come play with his friends, and we go to the back of our local library, and there have to be, I think, 10 of us in a big circular table playing a game of Commander.
Playing one game?
Sorry, all 10 of
One
you?
game. Yeah, we didn't know how it worked back then.
Lord.
And no, I don't think I regularly played a 4-player game of Commander until I was like, I don't know, 16, 17.
Oh my God, it's so cursed.
So we are all down there, like all of our friends, like mainly his friends, the ones that he was already playing Magic with. And he like teaches me like how Commander works. And then he hands me my first Commander deck that he just gives to me. And it was Scion of the Ur-Dragon because he knew I loved dragons. And so he just gave me this 5-color dragon deck he'd already put together. And it had a foil, the land that taps for any color if you have a creature on the field. Someone's gonna know what it is when they hear this. It's whatever.
A land that does that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like Glimmer Void. Only you sacrifice it if you don't have a creature, right? So Glimmer Void is you sacrifice it if you don't have an artifact. This one is you sacrifice it if you don't have a creature. It's from like Urza's Saga or something like that. He gives me that, teaches me like the basics of the game, and I end up winning because I'm just kind of like dirtling around for the entire time. Everyone else takes each other out.
Was it Thran Quarry?
I think it's Thran Quarry. Yeah, it's like a big like machine with some Viashino in front of it, digging into the ground.
I've never seen this card. It's a pretty.
That's like my first foil, outside of like a couple foils that you get in like that pre-con that I was telling you about at the very beginning, right? So it comes down to me and him, and I kill him with a 2-headed dragon from I think that's like around the Scourge area. So it's like, it's like looking back, it's like this trash dragon, terrible card. But at the time, I felt like such a god attacking into someone with it and killing them.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, so that's how I like learned Commander and was like, oh, this is really cool. Then I didn't really play a whole lot because like he graduated from high school, went to college. I played F&M, but like that was standard, not a lot of Commander at the time. In 2011, I actually started like playing again, and Scars of Mirrodin comes out, and I'm like, oh, I remember Mirrodin. I didn't play a whole lot back then, but I loved the aesthetic, and the aesthetic of Scars of Mirrodin looked sick. So I like bought an intro like thing for it, got a bunch of it. My first Planeswalker was Elspeth Tyrell, still my favorite, one of my favorite Planeswalkers. The art on that card is so freaking cool. And I built like a mono white Knights deck out of it for standard. It was right after Zendikar was rotating out. So like half of Cobblade still existed, but there was just no Mind Sculptor anymore. So I just built like mono white Cobblade. So I had the birds, I had the swords, I had a Batter Skull in there and some other random nonsense. But I also had like Honor of the Pure, Elspeth, Hero of Bladehold.
Such classic cards, dude.
But I got to play like Dispatch because I was playing so hard into artifacts. So I just had like, I had a Path to Exile that was free whenever I wanted it to.
So good.
And like went up against this dude at like a not my LGS, but another one nearby. And he was like their like big dog, you know, in their like meta.
Big dog.
He was the one that before then had been playing like Cobblade, and he pivoted into some like something similar to like Amulet Bloom. Obviously those weren't in there, but it was like Titan and a bunch of just like good stuff to allow you to get Titan out. You Kessig Wolf Run, beat your opponent over the head with a fucking massive trampling Titan. You know, cool. So, and I just raffle stomp him with this like not exactly budget because it did have a decent number of mythics and stuff like that in there, but this just like this is not the meta deck. What are you doing with white knights? What the hell is wrong with you? Oh, I had like Knight Exemplar. Literally, like I think my favorite knight card of all time. Knight Exemplar is so freaking cool. I was just like, it's neat. It's a white card. It gets +1/+1 from Honor of the Pure. Woohoo!
Oh yeah, I know Knight Exemplar.
I don't know what I did, but I think I pissed this guy off so bad that like later on he was like looking at people for trades, saw that I had a Prime Titan and something else. I think it was like a Venser the Savant or whatever. No, Venser the Planeswalker from Scars.
Yeah.
And he traded me a Japanese Chandra from the dual deck Chandra versus Jace from way back when, telling me that it was like $45 card, and your cards are $45 right now because back then it was like $30 for a Prime Titan, $15 for a Planeswalker. And I was like, yeah, sure, sounds right. And then like I go look it up, and I'm like, he completely ran me over with that trade. And I'm just like, I'm never going back there ever again.
That's so brutal, man.
The revenge trade. The revenge trade. Wow.
Right?
That's underhanded, dude. That's crazy.
And it's actually because of that moment, that was like an inciting incident for me to like promise to myself never to do that to anyone ever. Like I ended up trading someone for like some like fetch lands or something like that. And they were like pretty new to the game. They just like cracked them from like cons or something. And all they wanted was like this Platinum Angel that I had. It was like a basic Platinum Angel. And I was like, that's not the same. And he's like, you can just have them. I don't care. I'm like, no. I just force him my cards. I'm like, you pick out whatever you want out of here to reach that. Even if it's a ton of dollar cards, I don't care. I'm going to give you your value because I'm not going to like, I don't want you later to feel bad about this trade, even if you feel like, different about it.
Dude, I traded away a Snapcaster Mage under very similar circumstances. It wasn't like, it wasn't a salty opponent getting back at me though. It was just me trading with my friend, and we just didn't know what we were doing. We were like rare for rare, mythic for mythic.
Right.
That's how you trade cards. And then like a year later, I was like, we were starting to play cEDH, and I was like, dude, I need that Snapcaster back. And he was like, all right, we could trade, but it is, it's like $60 now. And I was like, fuck you, dude. It took me so long to get back. Like I had to trade him this huge stack of cards. It was awful. And he doesn't even fucking play Magic anymore. I was like, you rat bastard.
Right. I've had like multiple situations now where a friend of mine has not cared about the price of something. And I'm like, I owe you like a minor life debt now, right? So like we were at like an Innistrad draft, and my friend Pick One passes me a foil Snapcaster.
Oh my god, dude.
I look at him, he's like, I wanted this. And he shows me like, I don't know, like Garrick or something like that. And he's just like, I wanted this. And I'm like, you do know how much this is worth, right? And he's like, I don't really care. You can have it. I'm like, hey, I still have that fucking Snapcaster. But because of that, from then on, I was just like, you want help with anything Magic related, you can just ask me. I'm just going to do it for you. So I've like helped him like deck build and do all kinds of crazy stuff, like at a drop of a hat, because I'm just like, no, I'm not. You don't owe me anything from here forever. Like, and then like my other friend did the almost the exact same thing with a foil unhinged planes. He was just like, you like this you have. I'm like, dude, don't.
That's so good. So Zeb, the next question that we have for you here is, what makes you salty? Other than the bullshit that your brother was pulling, you know.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm not gonna keep putting him on blast.
Or revenge trades.
Yeah,
or
or
revenge
revenge trades. Yeah, no. Zane's off the hook now. I think what off the top of my head really makes me kind of salty, and this isn't necessarily like locked into cEDH. It's kind of funny. I was like racking my brain earlier, and I don't think there's anything specifically about playing a game of cEDH that I've encountered that really makes me salty interpersonally. Like someone does something, because it's like almost all the time people are usually making choices that like are pretty understandable because they're trying to win, right? So I can't fault for making an incorrect choice or something like that. Like they're still trying to do their best. But what does kind of make me salty is in casual games when some people do things because they can and not because they should.
Dude, the worst.
Yeah, I think that just like raises my hackles, because I'm just like, come on now, like early in the game, if nothing's really happening and like someone has like an open attacker, and it's like, don't make enemies this early. And they're like, no, I'm just going to put this 3/1 Icarid into you so I can get in the graveyard. I'm like,
oh, I'm putting the Icarid out every time.
Because I will swing.
It needs to, because it dies. That was a terrible example. But, if someone's just like, hey, my Llanowar elf can attack, and I'll just like push it in. Like, you could have presented that as an instant. You could have done anything with that.
Yeah, different with the door.
And you put a damage into me.
Yeah.
Why?
That's interesting, because I will take the attack, but like the example of that really makes me salty is when someone uses removal just because they held up mana for it, and then it's like on the end step and they're like, well, I held up 3 mana, I might as well beast within something. And I'm like,
you're not wrong. Yeah.
Well, why though? Like, it's turn 4 and we're all just developing. You're just gonna pick one of us and then later on, when we really need it, you won't have it. Like,
we won't have it.
Just feels like chaos play,
Yeah. Something like kind of along that line. I guess it ties into not being able to like threat evaluate, like, as well. It's like, I had a friend go to cast a board wipe. It was like a Wrath of God or something like that. I had a bunch of like dumb big Eldrazi out, but like the person opposite me had slivers, including the Sliver Hive Lord that gives them all indestructible. And I was sitting there like, you could not. I will allow you to return that to your hand. And he's like, no, because you've got a big board. I'm like, my brother in Christ will not have this big board in a second, and the Sliver player will have a huge board. All you got to do is just turn to me and say, hey, Zeb, I won't blow up everything if you just don't attack me and help me figure out the Sliver problem. Yeah. I would have looked at him in the eye and been like, yes, my friend. To not have my Eldrazi board wiped and set up the Sliver player to just destroy us utterly. So it's stuff like that where it's like, I mean, it's a legal game action, but like, it's something that I really actually learned a whole lot from playing cEDH. It was something that I think I already did a bit of, but like really learned it with cEDH, is how to politic. To really just be like, we're allowed to show or hint at information in our hands or our decks or anything, right? We can make deals on the fly. And yeah, you don't have to abide by them. You can stab someone in the back. Like, someone's got to win.
Whoa!
But there's also like a compact of like friendship usually, where it's like, you can stab my back, but like, we're going to play another game after this. You realize that I might take that against you or something.
Yeah, somebody who would be willing to make and break deals like that sounds like somebody who had a lot of trauma when they were growing up and playing the game of Magic. Maybe a brother who really crushed their soul. So this is the consequence of a young Zane somewhere.
Oh no! Everything goes back to Zane. He's gonna listen to this and just like be like,
"Oh my god, what have I done?
What monster have I released upon this world?"
Yeah, the episode title isn't gonna be like episode with Zeb. It's gonna be like, "What have you done, Zane?" A sad face of Zeb on the cover.
In all honesty, though, I literally do attribute all of the good in my career as a Magic player to him as well. I literally would not be the Magic player I am without him, because he got me into Modern, Legacy. I almost got into Extended because of him, but Extended ended before I got to get into it.
For sure, you get the bad with the good,
Yeah. I literally would not be into Cube if it were not for him.
Damn.
He's how I got into Cube.
You wouldn't be the Cube guy. You'd just be
I would just be Cube guy. I would just be Zeb, the guy.
Zeb, the guy.
Oh man. Well, that is awesome. Yeah, that stuff gets me salty too, man. There's a lot of different types of salt out there, you know?
Whoa, but wait, Sam,
Huh?
all this talk of salt. What is salt?
Tony, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. I appreciate it. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Just got to shower on the praise sometimes, you
Every
know.
once in a while, it keeps
You know,
me coming
Tony?
back.
You're the best Lotho pilot I know.
Thanks.
Hold on now.
Salt is frustration in the game, as we like to say. It's anything in a game of Magic the Gathering that can get you frustrated, irritated, maybe a little down in the dumps, a little sulky. Maybe somebody is just kind of talking over you. They know the game a little bit better than you. They're manipulating you a little bit. Maybe an older brother causing you to pass the turn. That would make you salty. Maybe somebody is swindling you with a card trade deal. That's going to get you salty. Maybe you're just pub stomping your friends turn one with an Arkham Dagson deck. And then you say, okay, while you losers play your turn one, I'll go shuffle up another deck and show you how it's done.
I've changed, I swear.
There's a lot of different types of salt out there, and we're going to talk about them so that we can learn from it and hopefully not be salty in a future game of Magic the Gathering. As we like to say, it is an edumagicational show.
Fuck yeah.
Thank you, Tony. That was your line. Thank you. You guys ready for our first salty story here?
I'm ready. Let's
do it.
fucking dive in.
Ooh, lay it on me.
All right. This one comes from our buddy, Tyler. And I believe this is one of our patrons. This story is titled Never Meet Your Heroes, a MagicCon Vegas story.
Bum, bum, bum.
I met this guy named Zeb, and he was a real asshole.
I imagine it being like, imagine being the Howling Salt Mine and they fucking sucked.
Well, and the story goes, hello, Salt Lords. I had a salty experience playing against a well-known podcaster at MagicCon Vegas, and I need to get the saline out of my system. I will not name this person. Let's just call them T from the Howling Salt Mine. Or no, that's too obvious. We'll call them Tony from HSM. This is very, I don't even know who this could be. This is pretty confusing. Well hidden. I put my name down on their waiting list and quickly got to sit down for a game. I said I had one of Gavin Verhey's unknown events in an hour or so and suggested cEDH to play a quick game. Tony suggested more of a high-powered casual game. Our third player pulled out Animar. Tony had Rafine, and I grabbed Feldergriff with a Karuga companion. Our fourth player only had a cEDH, Timna and Tana Blood Pod deck, and we said, fuck it. Why not? As far as cEDH decks go, that's a slower one on par with the rest of us.
So,
Tony, hold your tongue. This isn't even about you. This is about some guy named T from the Howling Salt.
Right. Keep going. My apologies.
The game starts with the Blood Pod player ramping ahead, and everyone else gets set up. Tony naturally has a turn one Sarah Ascendant. Fuck you, Tony. This is me now.
That is true.
This is Sam now. Fuck you, Tony. You always have the turn one
you
Sarah
always have
Ascendant.
Sarah Ascendant and Rafine every time.
Fucking awful. I have a slow start due to my Karuga restriction, which if people don't know, it's like CMC 3 or above, I think.
Your permanents need to be non-land permanents.
All
of them?
cards. Yeah.
Is it all cards?
Oh.
Wow. All cards 3 or
Lyris
above.
is just permanents, but Karuga
Yeah, that's
is
right.
all
I knew there
cards.
was a weird thing with that.
Yeah.
But I luckily opened with Leyline of Anticipation to save some mana, and then quickly land a Trouble in pairs to start drawing cards. Trouble is pretty good when everyone is double spelling and Rafine is drawing extra.
Mhm.
Suddenly, disaster strikes. The Blood Pod player has an Orcish Bowmasters. With both Trouble in pairs and Rafine going off, he begins machine gunning down all the creatures. Then he starts going directly at my face, since I'm walled up behind a ghostly prison and I'm the only one drawing the most cards. Soon, he has a 30-plus power Orc army. I'm not feeling great, but I've got about 17 life left and 15 cards in hand. It's fine. And that's when this damn podcaster plays a windfall. What the hell? I thought you could only be on a podcast if you were smart. Bowmasters proceeds to play out the ending of Jet Li's Hero. Animar and I die, and the monstrous orc army obliterates Tony. GG. And it was at that exact moment that my other event was beginning, so I had to leave anyway. It was almost like Tony did me a favor by ending the game before it got too stupid. Maybe, just maybe, Tony is okay after all. In all seriousness, it was a fun game, and I was glad to be there. Hope to see you guys at a future event. Tyler, a.k.a. Hamburger Time.
Nice.
So
do you guys remember when Zeb was talking about his friend that played the Wrath of God while someone had an indestructible board and they didn't have the awareness of the board state? You guys remember that?
If I knew of a T from HSM or Tony from the Howling Saltmine, whichever the way went, the way this story went is that there was one player that only had a cEDH deck. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to run Obnixilis into like this pod where there's like two non-cEDH decks. I was like, we'll just let the fucking Blood Pod player do what they're doing and it'll be fine. And honestly, it sort of was. This is the same Animar deck that got lost at the event. At our events.
Oh, no.
That we then reunited with their owner, which was great.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Like, I had made friends with the Blood Pod player, and so I could draw 1,000,000 cards, and the pings were going at me or my creatures. So I was like, fuck it. I was like, do I need to remove that early on? And he's like, nah, we good. Even though, if I remember correctly, I smacked the Blood Pod player in the face with the Sarah's Ascendant for like 3 or 4 turns because they were a fucking cEDH deck. I don't know how I did this, but then I knew that the time needed to end. I knew that we had a player at the table who was like, I gotta go. So I was like, well, let's fucking windfall, baby. Like, whatever.
Let it end.
So I won't lie. I probably was fairly chaotic in that game, but you know, I felt no salt. I felt pure joy, actually.
I'm sure you didn't.
What % are you really saying you knew what was about to happen when you played the windfall into the Bowmaster versus negligence?
No. I was BFF with like Blood Pod player and
so you were just
Orcish
safe
Bowmaster.
from it.
The Animar player was like about to pop off. It was like 1 card away from actually coming out because it wasn't a cEDH deck, but it definitely had a lot of combos in it. And I was like, dude, we should fucking kill them.
Like statue and shit.
Be done. Yeah.
Ugh.
And so I was like, windfall ? And then he pointed all the triggers at them. I think what happened is like on the way out, removal was played on my, because also Blood Pod player's life was like low.
Yeah.
So like I had fucking Rafid out. I had a bunch of like people that could swing and stuff. But like the way it worked out is that my blocker got removed and then he fucking smashed me with the 30 power orc army. And I was like, well, whatever happens. Get fucked.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah. That was a fun game though, actually, if I remember correctly. It was like very chaotic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I love this story because it has so many elements, and I did not plan this. It just has so many elements that relate back to what Zeb was saying earlier. It's a cEDH deck being played against casual decks, Arkham decks in style. It's somebody who's maybe aware of the board state, maybe still doing some chaos plays from perspectives of other players, and also just like I think the fact that the Tim Natana deck, they're like, it's like it can't be that bad. I love that too. That's just like such a funny piece. Like, it's not even. I don't know, this stacks deck, that'll be great for like a really quick game before I have to run off to this event.
Well, the thing is, like, as a result of them being, it almost immediately was a 3v1.
Oh,
because it's like, if you're sitting down and you've got I was able to sweet talk my way through a lot of things. I'm like, hey, but let's fucking this player, we should do stuff to them, like.
I'm not the problem.
Play a windfall into a Bowmasters, but I'm not the problem.
Tony's like, I'll ban you. I'll ban you from the Discord if you target me.
Man, I said that at least once or twice at MagicCon.
You send any of those triggers at me,
You're fucking
gone.
banned.
I definitely said that a couple of times.
I'm sure
you,
I did
Renshai. I'm pretty sure at least once I was like, Renshai, if you do that, I'm gonna ban you.
I don't even know if Tony knows how to ban someone from Discord.
True. That's a good point.
That's a hollow
figure it
threat.
out.
It's a hollow threat. Oh man.
I do think there's a point to be made in your defense, though, that
Thank you.
as long as you play towards what your goals are, then it's good. And if your goal was to end the game so that that player could go to their event, then good on you.
It's pretty polite of you.
Sounds like you were trying to win, though.
But I also had a shitload of life. So I was like, okay, I'm above everybody else. If I do this, he probably kills the other two players. And then I should be fine. The removal, I was like, if they got it, they fucking got it, you know? And so I took second. I'll fucking take that any day of the week.
I don't think that's how that really works in a game of EDH.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works. That's how Nick and I play anyway. I will say that much.
That is true. Yeah, it's an interesting thing when you make a deal with someone who has the Bowmasters, because that's something that I encounter a lot playing Marath, because I can often ping the Bowmaster when it hits, and I'm like, do I need to deal with this? And they're like, no, it's fine. I'll point it elsewhere. There's always a point where the deal has run its course, you know? Like that's not a forever deal when there's a Bowmaster's out. Eventually, you're going to get some arrows in you. Yeah.
I think, Sam, was it literally you in one of our recorded games?
It might have been, dude.
I had a Bowmaster down and you had a Marath down, and I was just like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? Like, I'm handcuffed.
I think it literally was. Yeah. It's funny because, like, when Bowmaster first came out, I was like, okay, Marath is fine if I can play it early enough, because then I can kill the Bowmaster and I can survive. And I think it was when we were on Play to Win, Mike and I, our amazing appearance on Play to Win, where we both played like Dookie and got dumpstered by
garbage.
Cam. There's a moment where Dylan played a Bowmasters and I just like pinged it immediately because it was right before a wheel. And in his like hindsight, you know, commentary that he was providing, he was like, I should have said, don't do that. I'll point them elsewhere and we can dismantle the board. And it kind of put me in this spot afterwards where I was like, oh yeah, like I can kill the Bowmasters at any point. I can force them to point that shit elsewhere. And as soon as the trigger touches my stuff, then I'm like, okay, well now it's dead.
Right.
And I've been playing it that way ever since. And man, it's great. I love it when Bowmasters comes down. I'm like, play more. It's the best. It's like I have one too.
I think like 9/10 of like cEDH is just leverage. It's just like
literally
knowing how to leverage what you have and what you can pretend to have. In this case, you know, leveraging like, yeah, that really important piece of yours that can damage a lot of stuff. I can kill it in like 1 split second, and you know that I have it. So let's make a deal.
Exactly.
Yeah, you were mentioning it earlier too, Zeb, of like cEDH is actually a great place to really truly learn how to politic, because in casual sometimes the politics is very hand wavy and very like you know, kind of soft, like we're cool, right? You know,
the number of times I've had someone more or less just go fuck you and just like swing at me for no reason in casual games.
It's so
I
true,
know I'm
dude.
dying on the backswing from player 3, but I don't fucking care right now.
Yeah, sometimes you make that deal and they're like, dude, the Bowmaster will go elsewhere, like don't even sweat it. And I'm like, nah, fuck off, like I don't even give a shit. It's casual, who cares? And like, to your point, Mike, even when Tony was talking about the deal that he had with this Tim Natana player earlier, he was like, we were friends. So like, he didn't even say,
I never said we had a deal.
You were like, we were friends.
We were friends. That is the casual politics. It's like, yeah, we're friends, right?
Yeah, the most hand wavy politics, man.
That was my favorite politics.
That is the MTG equivalent of like being in an MMO or some shit like that, seeing another player that you're in like PvP against possibly, and you both do the crouch thing at each other. It's like, okay, we're cool. And you just keep going.
Yeah.
So there's a 50-50 shot that like the second you turn around, they're just going to fucking like kill you. But like, you know,
that's so true. Like, hell yeah. This
It's
guy's
the friend
crouching with
crouch.
me. We're doing the crouch, and you're like, yeah, we're friends. Dude, I love that. Oh man, that's such an MMO thing, or like Fortnite or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, yeah, and then you all go off together.
So what do we think about the salt rating here on this one?
I think if I was this T from HSM guy, I would probably feel great shame. And I would take the Sarah Ascendant out of my deck, because it sounds like that was really the source of the salt.
Yeah,
And
that's the crux of it.
yeah. And I'd say that a lot of dumb people have podcasts. I think that's my other thought about this one. It says, I thought you had to be smart if you have a podcast. It's actually quite the opposite. You just have to know how to edit audio and post
push
something
some buttons.
online.
I mean, a lot of people don't even know how to edit audio.
And still make the
They
podcast.
don't edit it. They just have it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's mine. It's one salty Tony shaker full of Tony salt.
Which is really sugar.
Because I've been in this position against Rafine so many times. So like I know where Tony is just like, yeah, risk it for the biscuit. Here we go. And you're like, motherfucker, come on, dude.
If a game goes long enough, I always get to there.
Yeah, that's so true. The level of reasonable play for you does have like a steep dive after like 70 minutes where you're like,
I'm out.
I'm going to do something else. And like,
Yeah. And it's like something's going to happen and it's going to end in me winning or me losing.
yeah, I do know the salt of being on the receiving end of some play from Tony that I don't necessarily agree with. So I could see in the moment this being pretty frustrating, but I do love that they made it to their event and that everything turned out fine. So I think there's at least like, it's maybe like someone accidentally put salt and sugar in a shaker and like mixed it up. It's like still way too salty, but it's also
still disgusting.
It's
yeah,
worse.
it's still not a good experience, but it
Not enough to turn you off.
it's
Though.
sweet as well. Yeah, exactly.
You're still coming back for more later, so and you don't know why. That's the real thing.
Maybe.
Yeah. Not gonna lie, this is nowhere near the saltiest thing I've ever heard in my life. So I'm only gonna give this like 3 Tonys out of a howling salt mine, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
This guy
3
gets it,
Tonys.
folks. He fucking gets it.
So good. Tony,
Well-
do you want to give your salt rating since you were there?
It was fucking pure sugar, bro. I can't
Tony
even
was there?
taste the salt in
Was
there.
Tony
I
watching?
thought it was T from Howling Salt Mine.
Oh, yeah,
or
yeah, no,
Tony
yeah,
from
yeah.
HSM. One of those two.
T
people.
from HSM.
I mean, I don't know. He just sounds like a really cool guy.
Yeah.
I bet you would.
Oh man, get us more salt, Sam.
We need them electrolytes.
Have you read this one, Salty Canadian Bacon?
I don't think so. It doesn't ring a bell.
Right?
I feel like I would have commented on the Canadian bacon part in the salt rating if we had.
The problem is, I think a lot of people do the salty Canadian bacon thing.
What does that mean?
A lot of people like start their stories some salty Canadian bacon. Like we have like 4 that have that as a title.
I don't think I've ever heard you talk
It
about
is so
Canadian
strange that
bacon.
it's happened 4 times now. Like, well, all of them have like completely different content, but it's just like for some reason it all hinges on like Canadian bacon.
Literally.
That's the story point.
Canadian
Yeah.
bacon slaps.
Oh, I fucking love Canadian bacon.
It's just like ham, basically. Saltier
It's
ham.
literally just like ham. Thick cut ham.
But it's thick.
I got one here. This one is titled Salty Canadian Bacon, and it comes from our buddy. Oh, wait. This one comes from our buddy, Salty Canadian Bacon.
Yeah.
That's why I was so confused.
That's why there's so many.
That makes more sense. Oh, of course. It's the Canadian bacon itself.
I got cut into a blooper, but I thought this was a story that we had read before called Salty Canadian Bacon. But no, the person's name is Salty Canadian Bacon. And the post is titled Snatching Defeat from the Jaws of Victory.
Not unlike snatching Canadian bacon from
The jaws of your local Mountie, the mounted
yes.
police
That
in
is
Canada.
a sure
No,
way
I
to end up in jail in Canada.
It's probably about the only way. In
I'm
Canada?
sure there's other ways.
It's nice up there.
All right. And the story goes, hello, salty wizards. Greetings from the Great White North. Longtime listener, first time contributor with a confession for your consideration. The setting for the Salty Confessional is a command fest hosted by a large card shop that happened to stop in my city. To set the stage, these events host pods full of randoms that fire as soon as a pod fills. And there are 2 types of pods, Casual and Commander Plus. The only difference is the entry fee and prize layout, because both types of pods tend to have every power level from precons to cEDH. As this is a large event, think a couple hundred of EDH players and a couple hundred more playing side events, Rule Zero conversations are really important. I get paired up with a non-plus pod, and we sit down to discuss deck choices. We all agree to play some trash Magic, and so we pull out our tuned but not cEDH decks. There's a Kenrith the Returned King combo platter deck, a Saruman of Many Colors control/combo deck, and me playing Urza Lord High Artificer with Thoracle, and a fourth player who's unimportant to the story, get fucked fourth player. Am I right? The game is relatively interactive, and both Saruman and Kenrith have had at least one opportunity to win. I've been biding my time, looking for a window to drop Basalt Monolith / Rings of Brighthearth and exile my whole deck, cast Thoracle, and win. When I finally get my window with counter magic backup, I go for it. Activate Urza, exile my deck, and cast Thoracle with 0 cards in my library. And that's when it happened. The Kenrith player looks at me and says, "Your whole library?" "Yes," I sheepishly reply. "Okay." Thoracle trigger on the stack. I activate Mikokoro. The color drains from my face. It has been on his board since turn 4 or 5, buried under a bunch of lands, and I had forgotten about it. I stammered, probably tried to make some excuse, but in the end, I scooped up my deck, wished them a good rest of their game, and left to get some fresh air. The salt coursing through my veins could have melted the ice on a Canadian driveway in February. How did I forget the land? For people who don't know, Mikokoro forces everybody to draw a card. In my desalination period outside, I came to an even more salt-inducing realization. I actually had an out in the deck. Again, being the only Trash Magic deck I own, I have a Blue Sun Zenith in the list as an alternate win con that could have been cast and shuffled back into my library to draw a single card to his trigger. This may seem anticlimactic, but that is the end. I went back to the table afterward, joined a pod with the same guys, played an Abs End Lands deck, and killed the Kenrith player, who's now playing Mono Red Prison with Ragavan at the helm. We parted on good terms, and I spent the rest of the day jamming games, not winning, and having a good time. Moral of the story, walk it off, take a breath, and for the love of salt, remember your deck list and your outs. Thank you for listening to this salty confessional, and keep the stories coming. That's a good one, man.
It is.
That's a wholesome salt story.
That is wholesome. That's a pretty good one. I don't know if we fully need to read Mikokoro, but I think we hit most of it.
It's like tap 2, tap it. Each player draws a card, I do believe.
Yeah. Pay 2 and tap. Each player draws a card.
I think the real thing here that I have learned through fucking up too many times is to only do things as much as you absolutely need to.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times people can have an answer that does exactly this, right? Like draw my whole library. You don't need to draw your whole library.
Yeah.
You can draw all but 2, right? In particular with Thassa's Oracle. Like,
you have Urza. You have Urza and Thoracle. So you have 4 pips at
so
least.
It's like, yeah. There's a lot of that like exists. And like I've gotten in my pod in particular many times. And I've also gotten people when we played, when I played S tier Savala more, like people would always pick up their deck and I'd be like, activate Savala, you die? And then they frantically start searching for like, oh shit, like what can I do with that on the stack? The amount of times that like Mike got me real good once with a fucking brain freeze. I think it was.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
How many times
like,
do you do
how
that,
many
Lou?
times do you do that thing? And cheekily, I was like 600,000, and he's like, cool.
69,420. And Mike was like, cool. Multiply that times 3 and mill that many cards, you fucking idiot.
Just like Mike, like bearing down on you with the brain. She's like, yeah, nice. Yes, real nice.
Hand shaking on the cast.
Well, it's like I could have done it like,
20
times. And it would have been enough for me to still like win, being in a commanding position and not have overstepped the bounds of what I needed.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the slog comes from. So I kind of think it's just like, just don't do that no more. And you learn by getting fucked like this. That's how you learn to not do it.
Yeah. I have like multiple now just with like the one cEDH deck, because it's like you're always going to find like new ways that you have an avenue to win. And you're like, oh, cool, I can win like this. Like you zone in so hard on it, you kind of get blinders and just forget that there might be a stacks piece or something that is the one thing that can mess up that plan. And you probably even have the removal for it. Like I've had like a removal spell for a like Authority of the Consoles or something like that, right? To have my stuff enter untapped and just didn't blow it up before trying to go infinite or something, right?
Yeah,
Dude. Like, why am I blind? Why did I like a mantra that I've been trying to develop lately that's just like, when you're going to do something really important in the game, stop, take a breath, look at the board, look at it again. Is there anything there that could fuck with what you're trying to do? You know, because like Mikokoro could have just been like, let me see everyone's boards. I just want to make sure that, you know, there's nothing out here that, oh God, the Mikokoro. Okay, I'm going to exile to one card and then Thassa's or something like that. But then again, like you were saying, I think that Thassa's is a slightly more interesting scenario of that, because you only need to go down to, is it one? Because you can discard off of the, you can mill off the Thassa's to hit 0, right?
You just need less than your devotion to it. Less
and
than
so
or
as
equal
long
to
as
your
she's
devotion.
alive, you'll be doing devotion to 2. So if you have 1,
so you're fine.
So like for the most part, I'd just say always go to 1. As long as the Thassa's is alive, you'll have, you know, less than that in your deck.
Yeah, if you have precise control of it, I think a lot of the time people are like, you know, tainted pacting or consulting and things like that. Obviously, you're put in that 0 position. But yeah, these like Urza loops where you can do Urza's activated ability as much as you want. You can always leave a little buffer there to keep yourself safe.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think there's something that happens just in Magic in general, whether it's high power Magic or cEDH, where as you are playing these combos out, it's almost like a little bit brain off, where you default to saying like, draw my deck, exile my whole deck, do this infinite times. You know, we like kind of default to like the maximums, because in 19 out of 20 scenarios, that's generally all you need to do. And it's in that last one that you get fucked. But like, you just don't really think about it. Like, it's like, okay, I make infinite mana. And it's like, how much mana do you make? It's like, okay, well, now I have to actually pick, you know? And I think you just kind of, it is a little bit brain off of just like running through the combos and being like, well, I probably have it and I don't think anyone can stop me. So, you know, at this point, like, I'm throwing caution to the wind. I've stopped being protective of my win con. I'm just like, yep, I got it. It's fucking in the bag. I'll exile my whole deck. I'll draw my whole deck, what have you. You don't really think that like you still need to be on defense. Like, I've had games where I've gone to combo off and then someone stopped my combo, and I 100% thought I had it, and someone stopped my combo, and looking back on the turn, I missequenced and I just jammed the combo because I was like, well, I fucking got it. I'm just going to jam it. And then the turn passes and I'm like, fuck, I could have sequenced differently. I could have made a little bit more mana, played a stacks piece, like had it be a safer board state going into the next turn, and still had my win attempt. But it felt like such a sure thing that I just slammed the win. And then when it gets disrupted, it's like, wait, what?
I think in particular, too, in this story, it mentions having like a counterspell backup. Like when you have the window, you have counter magic, you're like, okay, I must be good. I must be okay to go for it. But there is enough in the game now where there's almost always something that's going to dodge around the thing that you think is making you perfectly set up, or everybody else perfectly locked out from stopping you. There's usually some narrow edge case that people could assemble that's going to mess you up. Like I frequently joke, Elvish Spirit Guide, Simian Spirit Guide, Manamorphose, any 2 mana spell. Because like there's enough stuff in the game that like it's totally possible that someone has an answer, even when it looks like there's no way an answer could show up on the board. But it doesn't feel good when that answer is on the board and you miss it. That's always like the worst feeling. So yeah, I feel like you're gonna take the breath and need to walk it off a little bit either way. So like Zeb's saying, if you do that before you play your game-winning action, you actually have that moment to still like prevent yourself from doing it.
Yeah, so true, dude.
So what do we think about the salt rating here on this one?
This is the kind that gets me. It's a very familiar one. It's like I ate a 2 serving size bag of chips instead of the 1 serving size bag of chips, you know?
Dug a little too greedily.
It's just a little more salt, but it's not something I've never done in my life before.
Oh yeah. I'm right there with you, Mike. Like, this is such a familiar salt. I've talked about it a lot. I think like the last like 5 games I've played with Marath, I don't know what happened. I think I like woke up to like a deeper awareness of how I've been playing, but I've just seen the misplays happen as they happen, but they're still happening, but I'm way more aware of them. And then when the game is done, I'm just so sulky. And I was probably misplaying in the same way, in prior games, but like for whatever reason, recently, the misplays have just gotten me so fucking salty. Cause it's like, to quote Ken Bauman, it's my game to lose. And I am losing. and I am losing. And I look back and it's not because of stuff other people did. I look back and I can trace it back to things that I did or didn't do. And that shit just gets me so bad because especially in cEDH, you want to play with precision and you want to play perfectly. And casual, you can fuck it up. It can be a little bit rough and tumble sometimes. But even in like high power casual, you still want to play with that precision that comes with cEDH. I mean, that kind of is the concept of trash magic, is like that cEDH mindset in a casual build or a more casual deck structure. But man, that shit gets me every time. And it's something that I've been dealing with a lot lately. A lot of that internal salt for sure.
So just recently I was cooking and I had some vegetables that I was like, I put some butter on them and I was about to put some salt on them and get my salt shaker. And it's one of those ones that you twist to like crush the salt in, before you put it on. I turn it over and start crushing it and it explodes. It's like all of this uncut rock salt falls on all of my vegetables. And then I spend the next like 20 minutes picking them out and like trying to like wash the vegetables off. And then I'm like, I'm not going to waste these vegetables. So I still eat them. Salty as hell. I still ate them. And I knew that it was not the vegetable's fault. That was my fault for maybe twisting too hard or something like that. Right. That's the vibes that I get off of this. It's just like you it happens and you look at it and you go, God dang it. And then you're like, I can fix this. It's up to me. Right?
Yeah.
And then you gotta eat it. You gotta eat your mistakes.
You're like, I can fix this, but you kind of still don't.
Yeah.
Oh, very much not.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, I have a salt grinder as well. And, I have like a salt bowl and a salt grinder and use them for different things.
I'm a bowl boy.
The salt grinder has like a cap on the bottom to keep it clean, keep it dry. But sometimes I forget to take the cap off and I'll take it and I'll like
and you're just going and going
and I'm like, what the heck's happening? And then I look and I'm like, oh, the cap. And I take the cap
like
off and salt will just like spill out of it all over my food. I'm like, fuck.
Now, hold on. Did I hear you correctly? Did you say salt ball or salt bowl?
Salt bowl.
You put your salt in a bowl?
Yeah, dude, like a sugar bowl.
Oh yeah, for grabbing a pinch.
I mean, I have a little container that closes so that I can just grab salt from it, like
Get those pinches.
kind of
Get those pinches whenever
kosher
you can.
salt only, though. Like that's what I put in my bowl.
Yeah, same.
I need to rethink some things, I guess. It's like
pretty convenient.
For the entirety of my life, it's just been like the little actual shakers or like the whole freaking iodized salt like cylinder.
Can,
you just pour it in your hand and you throw it in there, right? I've never thought about like, you could do it like sugar where you just have it in a container. Yeah. What the hell? Just like level up unlocked right there.
It's a level up moment,
have I been doing with my life up to this point?
Some would call us experts almost on salt at this point. So glad we could introduce the bowl technique for you.
Do you bowl your salt?
It is an edge of educational podcast. But yeah, it's great. It's also really great to figure out how humid it is in your house in the summertime. Because the salt just becomes like a big like crust.
Yeah. And that's
no.
Yeah.
Speaking of crust, I think we got another crusty story right here.
Oh God.
Great.
How about that for a transition?
Perfect.
Pretty good.
Seamless.
It's pretty fire.
So this one comes to us from our buddy Brandon. And this story is titled Spell Table Salt. Classic. And the story says, posted this on Reddit a while ago, so apologize for the formatting. Just started listening to the podcast a couple weeks back and am now on episode 55. Looking forward to getting caught up. Am I a pub stomper or should they just get good? I hopped on a spell table game tonight and I decided I was going to play my Kozilek, the Great Distortion deck. I figured I'd play in a power level 8 lobby, but right at the top was a 7 to 8 lobby with 3 out of 4 players, so I filled the slot. Player 1 is on Ren and Seri Inseparable. Player 2 is on Shalai and Halar, with a bunch of Slime Against the Humanity cards. Player 3 is playing Asterion the Decadent, and myself, I'm on Kozilek. My opening hand had my newly purchased Metalworker and a Soul Ring, so I kept it and we kicked off. Player 1's turn 1 Lotus Petal and Chrome Mox. About turn 4, my Metalworker generates 6 mana And player 2 pulls up his phone and shows the price of Metalworker on camera. LOL. $20 more than Chrome Mox now. Not that it matters. The same turn rotation, player 2 drops a thrumming stone and says, I should be able to kill him now. They're referring to me. He misses on his ripples and the game goes on. About turn 8, I get a doubling cube out and I generate 20 plus mana on my turn. I have a Void Winnower and a Planar Bridge in play. I tutor for an Eldrazi Conscription and I one-shot one player with commander damage. Everyone else proceeds to start chiming in with cEDH this, cEDH that. Thanks for joining our casual 7 to 8 lobby. Metalworker, blah, blah, blah. They then proceed to rage quit, and I get the win. Just to be clear, I know I was doing powerful things and playing expensive cards, but isn't that what power level 8 is all about? If my deck isn't an 8, it must be a 9 or a 10. But no one is playing Eldrazi and cEDH. So am I the asshole, or should they just get good? Looking forward to your replies. Here's my link to the deck to help you with your verdict. I don't know if you guys want to see the deck.
I would like to see the deck. I would like to see the child.
I would like to see the baby. I'm going to drop it in the Zoom chat.
Bring me the boy.
You got to watch out with the Disney references, Sam. Incredibly litigious. Well, okay, so the deck's name is Big Stompy Things. So I think off the bat, that's a point in favor of not being a cEDH deck generally.
Exactly. Like, this is so Timmy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, dude. Like, I'm looking at the mana package. Like, it doesn't really have fast mana. It has Mana Vault.
Yeah.
It has Thran Dynamo.
I think they might have just gotten like a fast hand.
Yeah, they've really just
Yeah.
hit the nuts on their variants. I mean, more than half of this deck costs more than 6 mana.
Yeah.
So I think
37 lands. Like, you're not near the efficiency that you need for cEDH. I mean, to me, this seems like a great power level 8 deck. And honestly, for the game, I feel like you really played off the back of Metalworker. You know, it sounds like, hey, early Metalworker and a Soul Ring, your deck is going to accelerate a fair amount. You know?
Yeah, let's read Metalworker. It's a 3 mana artifact creature with tap, reveal any number of artifact cards in your hand, and add 2 colorless for each card revealed this way. It's a 1/2.
Yeah.
So especially in a colorless deck where you're running on a pretty high artifact count, if you're revealing it sounds like 3 artifacts in this case, 3, or if you get up to like 4 artifacts from your hand, sure, a dork that taps for 8 that's pretty serious business.
Yeah.
At the same time, you're in colorless, so your options are somewhat limited of all of the insane things that you can do with all of that mana.
Well, say in this deck list, there aren't even that many artifacts. Like most decks that run Metalworker, all of the creatures are artifacts. You got all the utility artifacts. Like there's only 23 artifacts in this deck. He happened to have enough in his hand that it was like, it was just kind of the nut hand for this deck. So it probably maybe felt more aggressive.
With the other cards that were like being played by the other players, I'm like, if this deck was like a turn slower, which it looks like on average should at least be, this player was not keeping up with those other guys.
Yeah.
A Shalai Halar deck that was about to win off of if they'd hit their ripple with the Slime Against Humanities, like, okay, well, sounds like you guys were just as doing pretty much just as busted. Like, that's the thing is, like, when I saw like Slime Against Humanity and I knew the whole ripple thing was like Shalai and Halar, it's like, okay, cool. That means that your deck is averaging probably like just turn 4 or 5 then, because you're just going to play Shalai Halar, you're going to play the ripple artifact, you're going to go off and just kill everybody. Pretty fast and very consistent sounding to
Definitely.
me.
Yeah.
Right? This doesn't look fast and consistent.
Yeah, it doesn't.
No, it's very spiky. And you're going to hit those spikes sometimes, and your deck is going to perform like insanely well. But it's a frustrating part of playing in an anonymous group because they're going to feel like that's a random thing that like you do every time and that's consistent. Whereas like, if you had played the same deck against the same pod like 5 times in a row, people would see that variance, and that the one game that it pops off, they would get to share in that kind of fun of it with you too. So it's unfortunate that like this random pod can't appreciate it to the same degree, I feel like.
Right.
Just for context with this Shalai and Halar thing. So Shalai and Halar, I'm not going to read every single detail of these cards, but just so people know how powerful this is, Shalai and Halar, whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, Shalai and Halar deals that much damage to target opponent, right? So keep that in your head. Slime Against Humanity, you can have any number of those in your deck. You create an ooze. you put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is 2 plus the total number of cards you own in exile and in your graveyard that are oozes or are named Slime Against Humanity. And then Ripple is anytime you cast a spell, Ripple 4 from Throwing Stone, you reveal the top 4 cards of your library. And if there's another one that shares the name, you cast that as well. So basically, the whole concept of these Ripple decks is that you have a density of one of these cards where you can have any number of copies. You ripple it, you rip through your whole deck, and then with Shalai and Halar out, you're constantly putting +1/+1 counters down on things, and you burn out the whole table. Like, that is a fairly consistent combo that you can rip off. As long as you can get the Thrumming Stone to hand, like, that is not cEDH level, but that's incredibly consistent. Like, that would be the deck to beat down in my mind. If I sat down and people were explaining what their decks were doing, I would be like, this is the problem one.
Yeah, this is the one I need to attack with my commander with an Eldrazi Conscription on it.
Exactly, dude. Exactly, man. Which also, you know, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of cards in here that are not cEDH. Still a very spicy deck, though. I think it's cool. I would call it.
Looks really cool.
Yeah, power level 8, easy.
I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna start running in the cEDH world. See how far I get.
I have been cooking a colorless cEDH deck, though.
Like,
I have been.
yeah.
That guy that randomly took down a modern tournament with a standard deck because he didn't realize that he'd gone to the wrong tournament.
That's amazing. That's so good, dude.
I mean, that makes sense. Standard stuff is pretty strong.
Yeah,
No, this is like
shit up there.
8, 9, 10 years ago. This is a while
doesn't
back.
Oh, that's amazing, dude.
Wow.
That's so fucking great. To me, I feel like, I mean, this is sort of like a no-brainer, but people on Spell Table are just kind of rude. And if someone is going out of their way to say that your deck is cEDH, everyone's kind of ganging up on you. They're really pointing out like the cost of one card. Like, they know that they're wrong in my mind. You know, I don't think these people think you're actually playing cEDH. I think they are mad that you popped off before them and were frustrated by the power of a Metalworker, which is understandable, you know? But like, the other person played a Lotus Petal and a fucking Chrome Box on turn 1, man. Like,
yeah. An amount of salt got like instigated in me when I heard that one of the players like looked up the price of Metalworker.
yes.
Yeah.
Because like my philosophy over time has like shifted very much from caring about the price of cards more that you know what you're doing with them. And also like, are you doing really nasty stuff with them that I don't, that is like unfun? So like if someone comes up and is just like, I've got Time Vault and Twiddle or something like that, you're like, what are you doing here? Right. But like, if someone's like, yeah, here's this one specific combo that really kind of requires Metalworker, and I just like, I'm only playing colorless stuff, right? I'm like, yeah, of course you're playing Metalworker. I don't care, man. Go for it.
Yeah, your deck needs a Metalworker.
Yeah, even if someone comes to the table and is just like, I can't afford X cards. I printed proxies of them. I know they're like $100. I'm like, yeah, play them. I want to play this game with you. If you can't play the game without proxies, get the proxies out. Let's go. You know,
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some cards are expensive because they're old and there's only one printing.
Yeah. And if they were printed today, they wouldn't be. Like, there's some great examples of that just recently. I'm literally looking at Urza's Incubator. It was like a $30 to $80 card.
Oh, yeah.
Not
dude.
even half a
they
year ago. Then it got
printed it a
reprinted in the Commander in Dominaria Remastered, right?
Or fucking Elephant Graveyard from Arabian Nights, which is $288. And it gives you a colorless mana, or you can regenerate an elephant. Like, that card sucks. And it's $300. You know, if someone
Changeling decks.
Yeah, put it in your Orvar deck.
Dude, Swarmyard is there for that same reason, man.
But like, if someone was pulling up the price for that, they're like, oh man, $300 card bullshit. It's like, come on, man. Like, that doesn't equate to power.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's also the game of, it was whatever, $150, right? For 25 cents on a Doomblade, you could fucking nuke it. But, you know,
literally.
Nobody did.
I hate to bring up the dies to Doomblade argument, but it's honestly, especially when it comes to like Commander, if you're playing responsibly, you should have an amount of responses in your deck, right?
Yeah.
Like,
if you're playing responsibly, you should play responsively.
So what do we think? What do we think about the Sol rating here on this one?
I get salty about this stuff because it really chaps my ass when people say things are cEDH when they are not. When people throw around the term cEDH intending it to be like an insult, that really bugs me, man, because I think that like I still think there's a lot of like stigma with cEDH players pub stomping and shit like that, just in general in the Magic community. Like a lot of it has gone away and people are really into cEDH these days and it's very popular, which is great. But you still get casual players being like fucking cEDH bullshit, which really just means I didn't like how that deck was stronger than mine. That's really all you're trying to say. That's like high salt shaker shit for me. To hear that that stuff is still happening out there, easily a full shaker.
Yeah.
Consider Sam chapped.
Give me some chapstick because my ass is raw.
Oh God.
Episode title, if I ever heard one.
The episode
Zane the
title.
Betrayer and Chapped Ass.
Zane the Betrayer and Sam's Chapped Ass.
That is a good one for the list of Tony titles that are just completely not acceptable.
Yeah, even I will not accept that title. I'm making the jokes.
Oh, man. Well, Sam, is it that time of the fucking week?
Tony, I think it is that time of the week.
Oh, shit, baby. Well, lay it on me. What time is it?
It's the time of the week that comes every week.
Every motherfucking week, baby.
It's the time of the week where we say, Mike.
Mike.
What's the salty card of the week?
Salty card of the week this week is
My deck's a 7, and I do rule 0 truthfully. Oh. But I never mention stacks and combo I play secretly. Oh no. All around in my hometown, they're trying to track me down. They say they want to bring me in salty for pub stomping the community, 'cause my stacks and tax get them crusty. And that was I Shot the Sheriff by Bob Marley, as requested by The Quiet One. Thank you, The Quiet One. The Quiet One did provide me some lyrics, and I did change them a bit.
Put them in the trash.
I didn't put them in the trash fully, but their lyrics were, I'm the salt sheriff, and I couldn't wrap my mouth and vocals around replacing the word, like I shot the sheriff, and I'm the salt sheriff, where the's becoming salt. It was just like hard to come off of the diphthong of LT into sheriff.
Perhaps they wanted you to say, I'm Salt, the sheriff.
That could see, that could have been it. I salt the sheriff, but I did not season the deputies. But I still appreciated the lyrics and used some of them.
Well, thanks, Sam. That was a lovely salty song of the week. The
Thanks, Mike.
salty card of the week.
Hey, Mike.
Oh, thank you.
You're lovely.
And you know what? Thanks to The Quiet One for some of the lyrics there as well.
Yeah. And you know what, Mike? Tony is the best Lotho player I've ever been.
Okay,
All right, well, anyway, the salty card of the week this week.
Sam's chapped axe. Chapped
My
axe. And everybody's a better Lotho player.
The salty card of the week this week is Necropotence.
Oh, baby.
It is 3 black for an enchantment. Skip your draw step. Whenever you discard a card, exile that card from your graveyard. Then you can pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library face down, put that card into your hand at the beginning of your next end step. So Zeb, does this card make you salty?
Only when everyone else at the table has spent all of their counters on me, and I know for a fact that the person that played that has a Born Upon the Wind in hand. Other than that, I love it because that usually means I'm the one playing it, and I love when I'm the one that has it on my side of the field. Other than that, no, I hate that card. Awful card. Get it out of the game.
Tony, how about you? How does this one make you feel?
Baby girl, I fucking love this card. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've had a salty card that I'm like, I'm into this and I'm into a Necropotence.
I don't know if we've ever had a salty card you're into. Like, this might be one of 5.
It's probably like, yeah, there's not very many. Because they're usually blue or fucking stacks.
Yeah.
It's just so good. I love going too deep. Like, who doesn't love just being like, 30 life, baby. Give it to me. Fucking give it to me. There's something about it that feels wrong and good at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
And I also love getting somebody else to go deep. If I can convince somebody to do like
Keep
3 or
going,
4
keep
more
going.
cards, yeah. I'm like,
I bet the cards you need are in the next 4.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so obvious when you do that, Tony. For people who fall for that should be ashamed because
But it's a
Tony
mix,
is
'cause
so obviously being like, don't think you went deep enough. It's like Tony will never say that, like with like a genuine interest in your well-being. He will never say that.
that is not totally true. It is definitely partially true. It is definitely partially true. But part of me also wants you to fucking just rip 20 off the top and like get what you get. Like make it fucking work.
Oh man.
The only time this card sucks is there was one time I got a turn. I think it was a turn 1 Necropotence.
Jesus.
And
You're only a dark ritual away from a turn 1 Necropotence. That's the thing that's crazy about it. But anyway, carry on, Tony.
I paid 30 life and I couldn't believe, like, I felt bad because at the table I had 30 cards in my hand and I had to figure out what I was going to keep and what my next turn was going to look like and all this other
Yeah.
thing. And like, it wasn't that good. Like, I was like, how did I go 30 deep? And I said it just wasn't good enough, you know. Like there's not ways to capitalize on it like there are now with like Born Upon a Wind, where you can just make everything flash and like shit your whole hand out. I was like running, it was Ob Nixilis. I was running Rakdos. Like I don't have that shit in there. So
Yeah.
I was like, cool. I'll keep these 7 cards, which are some mana, so that I can play
Cast
Ob
your
next
commander.
turn. I'm at 10, baby.
I think most of the time, in my experience, a turn 1 Necro is a little bit of a trap.
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
sure. It wasn't right, but I got to do it.
But you got to do it, and that's what counts.
Sam, how do you feel about Necropotence?
I mean, I'm pretty like middle of the road on it. I don't think it makes me salty. It's a very powerful card, obviously. It's good. I think the thing that I don't like about Necropotence is I'm so bad at playing it.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Because you don't go deep enough, baby girl.
No, I don't think that's it. I think it's like the decks that I'm playing it in don't really want to do that because they can't win at instant speed and they can't like flip. Like going deep on a Necropotence, in my opinion, is really only worth it if you can flip it into a win on your next turn. If you can't do that, then I think
If
you're
not
making a
that
mistake.
turn.
Yeah, if not that turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you do it.
And like the times I've played it, it's in like trash magic decks, and I just can't really make that happen. The best time I ever played a Necropotence, and I know I've talked about this before on the podcast, was literally every single turn I just used it to refill my hand to 7 and draw like a couple extra cards and then sculpt to a 7. And that was like the best because I was just spending like 4 to 5 life every turn, always came into the next turn with like a fresh 7 and was able to discard the shit that I didn't want that like was kind of just rotting in my hand.
So you were cheating.
But I've never like fully ripped down 30 cards like that, you know?
Yeah.
I would love to. Like, I think I had this in maybe a Rogside deck back when I used to play it, or Jessica Silas back when I used to play it. I have no memories of ever successfully using it. So that's what gets me salty. I've never successfully used the Necropotence. What about you, Mike? How do you feel about this one?
I feel very similarly as you do, Sam. Like, this is a card that generates a ton of salt for me because I know it's super good.
Yeah.
I've seen it used super effectively. I've lost to this card a bunch. It's very good. I am trash at using it. I'm just so bad. Like, and I've dumped the 30 life into it before and then not found the win. And I've dumped the little bit of life into it to try and value out and not gotten the win off of that too. I've like held it to not play it and try and play it at a later time. And then I've always felt like I'm like a turn late on playing it, or I've played it and then used it and been like, oh, I really didn't have enough of a setup to actually win off of this.
Yeah.
So like there's so many different ways to go wrong with it. I like the core bit about the card, which is that, you know, you're exiling those cards face down. You have to kind of like guess, right, how much it is. It's very different from ad nauseam in that way, where you're like, okay, I'm deciding to keep paying more life because I know where I'm at with what I have here.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to figure out how much life I'm paying right now without all of the information. And that's it just eludes me on how to like
Yeah,
actually get the most out of that consistently.
And it also brings so much heat on you because even in like a trash magic, like high power casual game, like in cEDH, if someone necros for 30, you should get heat on you because something is about to go down.
I mean, if it's in your deck, you get heat on you.
Yeah, because they're like, life is a resource, like send the attacks there.
Yeah.
But like if you necro for 10 and it's fucking dookie, everyone else thinks you got the nuts and they're like, fucking get him. And you're like, no, I drew 9 lands, please. It's like, it's so bad, dude. Like it can just backfire. Every time I play it, I feel like it backfires.
I don't think I've ever actually played Adnaz or Necro in casual in my life. Because of that. I'm just like, I'm not even touching it.
Yeah. They don't feel right for it.
I think it's because I like bought one. I was like, well, it needs a home somewhere. And I just put it in my Gave deck. And I was like, maybe this will be cool. And I played it in like 3 games and then I cut it. And, you know, I was right to cut it. That's the other thing that gets me salty is I've owned this Necropotence for like
I have a
4 years. And I'm like, where the fuck do I play it? Like, anyways.
Where does it sit on the list, Mike?
Why don't you guys give me some guesses on where you think it sits in the list?
Well, I feel like Necro has always been on people's like Saltdar, like pretty high.
Saltdar.
Because like I've been like talking with some of like my friends who had just started getting in Commander and like see it and go like, the person played it and they just won. That didn't feel cool, right?
Yeah.
So like I feel like this is probably in the top 150, but I don't think it's like mega deep. So I'm gonna go 135.
Oh shit.
Tony?
269.
269.
269.
I'm saying 78.
Okay, it's a close one, but I think Zeb takes it.
Damn it.
It is 194.
Golf clap. 194.
Oh, baby.
Oh, wow. It's way down there.
Wow.
I almost said 233.
Well, that would have been closer.
194. Man.
Yeah.
Less salty than Winota.
Well, I was fucking way off with my stupid 78 that I said.
You're trying to make me feel bad. You were like 269, but then I was close. So
yeah.
I mean, you just should feel bad for the Sarah Ascendant
you
thing
should
earlier.
just feel bad.
Yeah.
Sarah Ascendant.
Yeah.
Right. What am I saying?
You're not allowed to live that down until you eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to eat a Sarah
Yes.
Ascendant. That's
Oh,
true.
man. When we hit 9,000 subscribers, Tony eats a Sarah Ascendant and never plays it again for the rest of his life. It's decided here, folks. Decided here.
You
That's
got to dip it in soy sauce to make sure you get enough salt on it.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So good. Wow. Crazy. I can't believe we just decided that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Sounds
so
good.
glad you
Everyone's in
agreed.
agreement.
Yeah.
I'm so glad Tony agreed so quickly to it.
Oh
really
my
took to
god!
it.
Literally canon.
And it's going to be crazy when I edit out you saying not. And it's
Literally
just
canon.
literally canon.
I just made it too easy for you. Oh man.
Well,
Well, that wraps it up for the salty card of the week. Thanks for playing.
thank you, Mike. That was a lovely salty card of the week. And Zeb, thank you for hanging out in the mine with us today. We appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, dude.
It was so good being an honorary prospector for the evening. I appreciate you guys so much for all the work
man.
that you do. You are truly the shining gem in the salt mines for sure.
Oh, shucks.
I think the real shining gem is the friends we make along the way.
Oh, wow, dude.
Heartwarming.
So, Zeb, if people want to find more Playing with Power content, if people want to find your content, where can they find you?
Yeah, so Playing with Power, you'll find us at Playing with Power on YouTube. Should also be Playing with Power if you are on Twitter. I will never, ever call it X. I don't believe that we're on Blue Sky on there yet. But personally, you'll find me under @Zeb of the Cube on X/Twitter. Wow, I just totally
Wow.
said X
You
right
just
after I said I'd
did.
never call it that because it's stuck in my brain now. I failed myself so hard right there. And then you'll find me on Blue Sky. It should be the MTG Cube Tutor.
Hell yeah.
Not just the cube guy.
Yeah, everyone's calling me the Cube guy. I'm just gonna lean into it.
Yeah, one of the things we didn't get to chat about was all of your amazing cube builds and things like that. So if you have links to like Cube Cobra or any of those other websites. I think Cube Cobra is a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, it's Cube Cobra because it used to be Cube Tutor, which is where I stole that name from.
Nice, dude.
But Cube Tutor went down and I moved everything I had to Cube Cobra. So yeah, no, I'll put some links up and send them to your,
Send them to us and we'll throw them in the show notes. I mentioned it before, but Zeb has a fantastic Commander Cube and a really fun Pikmin Cube that I've heard is really enjoyable to draft.
Pikmin.
It has only gotten better. It's a
Hell
custom set. All of the cards are custom made. I did all of the art for them as well using
that's awesome.
pre-existing images, but they're all there. Like they actually look like Magic cards, basically.
That's so great,
Nice.
dude. I
It's
fucking
just like
love that.
Pikmin.
And it's just Pikmin.
It's
Yeah,
Pikmin themed.
like they
I
are a
love
creature
Pikmin.
type. Pikmin.
I did
That's so good.
I got my Nintendo Wrapped for when I had a Switch earlier this year, and I spent a lot of hours playing Pikmin. I could tell you that much.
The whole reason I built it was because Pikmin 4 was coming out, and I was like, oh god, I'm thinking about Pikmin. And I played Pikmin 4 and just like, what if there's a universes beyond Pikmin? How would that look? And then I literally was like, well, I can make that. I know how that will look. I can
Hell
do
yeah,
that.
dude. Hell yeah.
Oh, that's so fucking sick, dude. So yeah, we'll throw some links to that in the show notes for people to check out. And of course, I got to thank the prospectors out there for tuning into this episode of the Howling Salt Mine, hanging out with us. And we're going to shout out our Salt Packet Plus tier members. And this week we have Thoughtsimus Prime, Rothbox, Sire Speedy, Bobo Fett, Brimstone, Captain Kraz, Elgo Fogel, Clearbrook, D. Beeson, Gilgamesh, Doug's Dad, Bark Bark, Pez, Swankub, The Quiet One, and Vok. Thank you all for being so amazing. If you are looking to get more Howling Salt Mine in your life, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Howling Salt Mine. We have our fantastic Discord community where we're playing with the patrons once a month. We're wrapping up I think by the time this one comes out, we have just wrapped up our holiday deck exchange where we had 74 people, maybe 76 people exchanging decks all around the world and across America. Really, really fun. And then we're all going to jam them like the second week of January. Looking forward to that, unless it's already happened, in which case it was great. And wow, I can't believe I won all the games I played.
I can't believe I won every single one.
You can also get all our bonus content there and a bunch of other fun stuff. Other ways you can support the show are to check out our play mats over at Jank Mats, our merch over at Bonfire, and you can check out our Dragon Shield affiliate code using code STAYSALTY, all lowercase, to get a little bit of cash off your next purchase from Dragon Shields. Another way you can support us is to give us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app of choice, whether that is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, what have you. It helps us stick out in the algorithm. Or check us out on YouTube. We have a growing presence over there. It's been fun. It's been cool. They haven't taken down any of our songs recently, which has been nice. Maybe they have. I don't know. We're pre-recording this. Another way you can help us out is to send us your salty stories. Whether you send them to our website, which is thehowlingsaltmine.com or howlingsaltmine.com. We have a form on there that you can fill out, or send it to our Gmail, which is thehowlingsaltmine@gmail.com. Lastly, we got to shout him out. Our friend Devin Burnett for giving us our beautiful podcast art. If you're ever in Asheville, North Carolina, hit him up and get a tattoo because he's a really cool guy.
10,000 subscribers are bust.
Indeed. And of course, we know 9,000 subscribers are bust. Tony's going to eat that Sarah.
Eat that Sarah sentence.
Oh my God.
9,000 subscribers are bust.
Hashtag EatTheAngel. Zeb,
Indubitably.
Indubitably. Zeb, thanks again for joining us, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, of course. It was a blast. I love you guys. I am so glad that we gotta talk and share some salt, man.
Hell yeah, man. It's been
Hell
awesome.
yeah.
As always, folks, stay salty and don't forget to draw an additional card during your draw step.
It's the Howling Salt Mine. The Howling Salt Mine.
Yeah.
And it's very
as
interesting.
the story. Go
You
for
go,
it,
Mike.
Sam.
No,
I also had
Mike,
like 60
no.
or 70.
Sorry,
likes.
Tony.
No, you go, Tony.
Tony,
you go,
Mike and I
Tony,
are talking?
actually.
Mike, you go. Mike, you go.
Now I don't remember what I was going to say. Hi, Zucchini.
Had to bring the cat,
Cat
in.
break.
She was going fucking
Cat
crazy.
break. Hey, cat.
Cat break. Cat break. Cat break. Cat break. Zeb, you've got your cat too. Cat break.
Oh,
Cat break.
Oh, where's my
what are you doing,
cat?
Scott?
Cat break. We look at our cats.
Got what plants crave.
Got what plants crave.
Oh, what plants crave.
Brondo.
Brondo.